Woman hears something strange in garage, then catches him in the act. She had to act fast. But it was dark, she couldn't see a thing. Suddenly, she heard a sound. She froze as her heart began to pound. She tried to disappear into the corner of the room, but it was no use. Oblivious to her presence, he carried on with what he was doing. With no way out, she shrieked in horror. 54-year-old Mila Hewitt was delighted when someone finally bought the old, empty garage site opposite her house at the end of her neighborhood. As a retired woman who lived in a big house alone with her 2 cats, she welcomed any potential for gossip and drama in her small neighborhood. But she was about to bite off way more than she could chew. Mila was the head organizer of their neighborhood watch, so she took it upon herself to introduce herself to the new garage owner and try to get the inside scoop of what his story was. His name was Barry and he seemed nice, but he was much too quiet for Mila's liking. Something seemed odd about him, but she wasn't sure what. Mila lived in a relatively sleepy neighborhood, so a new landowner was big news for her. The garage Barry bought had been up for sales for years, and honestly, it was rather unappealing, so Mila was eager to know what he wanted it for. However, just as she asked, Barry politely excused himself. It was a move that seemed calculated. Since introducing herself, Mila hardly ever saw Barry, even though his car was often parked outside. It was like he spent the whole day there. Was he living there? It became the neighborhood scandal, thanks to Mila. Some neighbors laughed at him for the garage but others, like Mila, thought this guy meant bad news for their neighborhood. And they were right. At first, it was the antisocial behavior and unwillingness to meet his neighbors that irritated Mila. Then it was his bizarre visiting habits, now more and more odd behaviors started to show, and Mila wasn't liking any of it. It wasn't long before her suspicions of this man became more and more prevalent, and his actions, more and more secretive. Mila began to hear strange noises and thumps coming from his garage in the dead hours of the night. Often, it would wake her up from sleep. Then one night, the noise was so bad that she got up to look out her window, but what she saw sent a cold and ominous shiver down her spine. Mila looked out in the middle of the night to see Barry, wearing all black, hoodie up, gloves on, carrying a large, long, black bag from his garage. He hauled it with tremendous difficulty to his car boot, then hopped in his car and drove off. Where was he going? What was he doing? Was he dangerous? Mila couldn't sleep, worrying about the strange aloof man with the creepy odd habits who lived right beside her. Acting on impulse, she got dressed and mumbled "It's now or never" as her heart pounded and yearned for the truth. She knew he was up to something bad, she just had to find out what, so she could report him. Mila ran across the road and tried to open his garage door. It was locked. She sneaked around the side, looking for open windows. Finally, she found one and tiptoed in. She had to snoop around quickly. She wasn't sure if a garage had the same trespassing rules as a house. Probably less, she thought. But the garage was dark, she couldn't see anything. Suddenly, she heard a sound. Mila froze. Her heart began to pound. He turned on the lights and entered the room with his strange tools in hand. He didn't notice her there at first, but when he did, she shrieked in surprise and terror. She saw exactly what he was doing. And she knew there was no way out of this. She was a deer caught in headlines. As Mila's eyes adjusted to the light, she saw one of the coolest interior designs she had ever seen. He was remodeling the garage into his home. He worked tirelessly day and night to build, tidy, organize and clean the garage space. It was almost complete and looked like something out of a magazine cover. Mila was shocked, as was Barry. After the initial shock, Mila apologized profusely, but he didn't accept it, of course. He was trespassing on his property after all. Eagerly, Mila told him that she thought he was a criminal and explained what she just saw and how he made her feel over the past few weeks. Barry couldn't help but laugh and posted his crazy story online. The post went viral. What did people think? Some users commented and told Barry she was right to check it out if she thought he was doing criminal acts. But most others commented to say that they thought her actions were completely unacceptable and illegal and told him to press charges. He thought about it seriously, but Mila wasn't finished with her apology yet. The next day Mila knocked on his door with baked goods, wine, and flowers, as well as a small housewarming gift. She was mortified and explained herself some more. She also explained how impressed she was with how he designed and remodeled the garage. In the end, Barry decided to let it slide. Trusting it would never happen again. So far there have been no more problems.